Hello, whisky lovers around the world. Jock again on location from Scotch and Folk in Tomintoul, the highest whisky shop in Britain, owned by this gentleman here.
Called the Whisky Castle.
The shop is the Whisky Castle, and your name, sir?
I'm Mike Drury. We've been running the Whisky Castle, a shop we started probably in 1902. For the last 8 years. We're keeping the lifeblood of Scotland warm and welcoming for nations across the world, particularly with non-chill filtered and non-colorized whisky. Because behind me here you'll find is the Tomintoul 14 years of age, largest bottle of whisky in the world.
How many litres are in it?
105.3.
Well, you could have an army drunk on this, feed them into battle.
I'm not topping it for you this minute.
No, okay.
You know, for goodness sake. It took us an hour and a half to put bottles of Tomintoul 14-year-old, 160 of them into the bottle.
Goodness.
In front of a judge, a person that looked, two lawyers, a judge, and we had to make every single record perfect to get the Guinness Book of Records certificate. This is the very first time that this category was actually accepted by the Guinness Book of Records for the largest bottle of whiskey in the world. So it's a #1. There's a wee story about this. It's actually by folly, because my floorboards in the shop are just a little bit on the bouncy side, being just best part of 150 years of age. And I have to say, sadly, I'm not putting 165 kilos of fine malt whiskey valued at about £30,000 minimum on those boards at the moment. I'm going to have to do a bit of building work.
Are you going to do that building work and bring it across to the shop?
And we share it between us because it wasn't totally my idea. Mr. MacPherson owns the Drew MacPherson and his darling wife Irene own the wonderful Clockhouse restaurant where the bottle is at the moment. And he had the idea. I came back from holiday. He says, "I got an idea for the largest bottle of whiskey in the world."
Okay.
I said, "It's been done. Forget that. Chivas will have done it. Pernod Ricard will have done it. You know, Diageo with their 33 stills would have done it. Forget it. It's already been done." And it hadn't. So 2 idiots from Tomintoul had to go and do it. It's simple as that. So we share it between us. A year or so over here, a year or so over there. And then hopefully we'll want to take it down, if they'll have it, and they certainly will, down in Edinburgh at the Whisky Experience, probably somewhere like that.
Oh, lovely. And how high are we above sea level here?
Hang on a minute, where am I? If I stand up, no, if I sit down, 1,138 foot if I'm sitting down, and 1,140 foot if I'm standing up.
Now about the shop.
Aye.
We've just been to your wonderful shop, and it's just stacked full of whisky. Now I've noticed that you've got mostly independent bottlings.
Aye, we got 630 bottles of whisky at last stock take. The population of the village is 310, so it's a 2-to-1 ratio. There you go. And yes, we only really get excited about single cask whiskies, which are not chill filtered, which are not taken to 0 degrees and they're always extracted out of them, and no caramel, thank you very much. We don't colour whiskey. We actually specialise in whiskies which are totally as natural as we possibly can. If we could actually drink about the cask, then we'd all be a lot better off for it.
Oh yeah. And in your opinion, because many people, among whiskey buffs, it's a big argument. Can you taste the difference between caramel colouring or not?
Yes, we had this. We had a master of wine called MacKillop. In fact, MacKillop's Choice is a whisky range. He put half a bottle of 14-year-old Springbank around us without any caramel in it.
Yes.
Around the table, and then put the other, put just 3 drops of caramel, distiller's caramel, into the remaining half bottle that was left. Put another glass around with that in there. It had gone sort of an amber colour, and it was flat as a pancake. It died.
Wow.
It had died. The finish was dead on it, and there wasn't any excitement. There wasn't a burst of flavour like there was in the beginning.
Wow. How are we time-wise? Okay, good. you know, you'll find that people from all over the world will come to your shop, and what do you find that they buy the most? What's the most that people will buy?
I think mainly they'll buy. I suppose the largest seller is Tomintoul 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's the biggest bottle. Two, it's 46% non-chill filtered whiskey. Three, there's no colouring in it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we lead them to that. We taste them with the other Tomintouls and the 46%, and they go, if they want to, go out with the 46%. We don't push it upon them, we just give them an opportunity for choice. That would be our number one seller, I suppose. And then there's a vast range of whiskey castle bottlings, which we actually bottle whiskey ourselves. We find good casks and bottle themselves through a variety of different prices, etc. And then sometimes I find, last year, I had a Town of Oolin 40-year-old from Old Malt Cask, it's Douglas Lang. It was a £125 bottle. There was 240 bottles off the cask. I bought 220 of them and wish I had the other 20, because in 6 months it had all been bought.
Goodness me.
Because it was just a fantastic dram. And we're always in search of the perfect dram of whiskey. And once you got the perfect dram of whiskey, by gosh, you go back to the shop and you try and look for another bottle of it, and it's all been bought. So you have to go on the search for the perfect bottle of whiskey yet again. And that's the excitement of it all.
It is indeed. So, what's your own favourite whiskey?
The one that I'm with?
The Tomintoul.
No, the one that I'm drinking at the time.
I see,
There's no such thing. I can go on about chill filtering until I'm blue in the face. But if I was on a desert island and an 8-year-old bottle of Bell's came up on the seashore, and I'd been on that desert island for 5 years and not had a drammy, first thing I would get was ecstasy when I opened up the bottle and I found that the seawater hadn't got into it. The next thing I would get religion, because I know there was heaven, because I've been presented with a bottle. And then there would be hell, when I was down to my last 2 centilitres, and by golly, that another bottle hadn't come up on the shore.
Oh, yeah.
Can you think about that? So
Indeed.
there's no such thing as a bad whiskey. There's just some better than others, and they're all dependent on your pocket. They're all dependent on your pocket. Do not be put off by price. A good cask strength whiskey, if you could afford it, kept for 14 to 25 years, even 30 years, you can range from £100 a bottle to £80 a bottle, up to how long is a piece of elastic.
Yeah.
At 46% is the key to look for bottling, for good value. Many of them, people do it like the Provenance range, like Murray McDavid, like myself. I always produce 46% whiskies for those pockets, which are not quite sufficient to go into a 65, £70 bottle. They turn out about between 30 and £40 a bottle.
Goodness.
And they're the same thing, but we just watered them down to 46. We don't have to chill filter, we don't colour.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, and you'll see it on the web in a couple of weeks' time. And from Scotch and Folk, and from Tomintoul, and the Whiskey Castle, until next time, Slán Siva.
Slán Siva.